Hi students, today I am going to start with the Victorian age, and as far as Victorian age is concerned, Victorian age is also as voluminous as the Elizabethan age. It is also a very complex age if we compare it with the modern age, and Victorian age was actually an age of doubts, age of lot of controversies, age of complexity, and not only complexity but psychological complexities, and a lot of transitions could be seen as far as unrest is concerned, spiritualism is concerned, religion, science, experimentation, mechanization, and not only all this but humanism as well. We find material advancement. We also find a lot of democratic zeal, a lot of expansion in all the areas, as well as something about pessimism and cynicism too. A lot could be seen in the development of the scientific areas. Not only this, that is patriotism, love for the country could also be seen in this era. And the most important name in this Victorian age is Charles Darwin. Charles Darwin, who wrote The Origin of Species. The Origin of Species, which was published in 1859. And yes, this work was actually a monumental work, a mammoth work, and which actually proved to be a great work and a work which actually echoed in the entire world. Now, the influence, what happened with the influence of this theory of Darwin? Basically, when this book got published, the very foundation, the very root of religion began to rock. And yes, the authority of the Bible was subjected to a lot of doubts, as the world, which was actually perceiving something, details which could not be known before by coming of this Darwin theory. And people in the world, in the country, all around, they felt that the entire groundwork of ethics, of morals, was now trying to crumble down. So what happened? Lot of doubt, lot of despair, lot of pessimism. It actually came out by the Darwinian theories. And a number of Victorian writers like Tennyson, Browning, Arnold, others, they also came into existence. And the concern with special social problems which we found in this Victorian era was basically a distinction between the Victorian literature on the one hand and literature of the preceding centuries, which we have already studied. Apart from this, students, there is a lot things which you have to remember, and that is John Ruskin. Who was John Ruskin in this age? He was basically inspired for what? To criticize the contemporary मतलब होता है समकालीन, उस समय का जो capitalist structure है. And a lot of people, they were working under the miserable condition. Thomas Carlyle, a big name in the Victorian era, he also criticized the contemporary social England, social structure. And in the last lectures, we have studied about the Charles Dickens. His treatment of the poor working men with sympathy in so many of his novels, which we have already discussed. Now, there is a name, there is a term which sometimes comes in the examination, that is the Chartist movement. What is this Chartist movement? Just understand that the working men of England, they were struggling hard for what? To win the recognition from the government. कि government से हमें recognition चाहिए, उसके लिए people of England, they were struggling hard. And a people's charter was drawn up somewhere in 1888. And thus began the so-called Chartist movement. और इस मूवमेंट ने क्या डिमांड किया? It demanded universal suffrage, the secret ballot, and abolition of the property qualification for the members of the parliament. And though the movement in the beginning was mainly, unsuccessful, but yes, it awakened a lot of social consciousness and many other things. The people who wanted to work, the working conditions of the working people. And this is an age of, hypocrisy, taboos. The Victorian age was very conservative about women. Yes, women in the Victorian age were supposed to be inferior to men in mental power. The Victorian people took women that they should not work. They should only work in the household works, and they are meant for the needle, and the men have to work. So women's highest functions were to build the baby or distribute the soups in the cottages and other household works. If we talk about Lord Bertrand Russell, a big name, he has always been speaking about the Victorian attitude towards women in his book. और लॉर्ड बर्ट्रैंड रसेल की एक बुक थी जिसमें उन्होंने ये बातें लिखी हैं. उस बुक का नाम है मैरिज एंड मॉरल्स. एंड there is a term known as I have told you earlier, Victorian compromise. This is a very important term, students. Victorian compromise का क्या मतलब होता है? See, compromise का मतलब होता है midway. Somewhere you are drawing a line कि जिसमें कि ना इधर चलो बीच का रास्ता निकालते हैं, जिसको कहते हैं mediocrity. And these Victorians, they actually desired to compromise with political issues, with religious issues, with industrial issues, with private issues, and they try to compromise, means to search for a temporary golden mean, कि ना इधर नुकसान हो ना इधर नुकसान हो, एक बीच का रास्ता निकालते हैं. And now it basically, connotes the hypocrisy, the sentimentalism, and a lot many things where the Victorian people, they tried not to slip-slide, means they wanted to go in the midway. And there was a lot of struggle, between Victorian compromise, कि industrialism में, intellectualism में, private sector, government sector, and so many things. So हर के फायदे नुकसान थे. Religion अलग कहता था, hypocrisy अलग कहती थी. So these things एक mid term निकाला गया. And the Victorian, poetical measures and could be considered by Tennyson, Browning, Matthew Arnold, and it paved a good way towards building up a great poetical ability. The romantic poets, अगर हम उसको compare करें, so they even went further and further. But we cannot compare actually the romantic six great poets with the Victorian poets. And the first important work of Lord Tennyson, which is known as poems chiefly lyrical, which was published in 1830. And some of his other works like Maud, Princess, In Memoriam, Idylls of the King, and Locksley Hall. And yes, it is also true that in Victorian era, the most representative of this age is nobody else but Lord Alfred Tennyson. He has been representing the Victorian age almost in all the spheres, almost in all the entirety. And the contemporary conflict between religion on the one side and science on the one side is very well demarcated, is very well represented in his poems. And if we talk about the Tennyson's very famous poem, that is In Memoriam, where he has shown his beautiful pictorial quality. If you remember those lines, calm is the morn without a sound, calm as to suit a calmer grief, and only through the faded leaf the chestnut pattering to the ground. So just if you read these lines with proper tenure, you will find that there is beautiful pictorial quality in Tennyson's poems. Now, apart from this, students, the important poets apart from Tennyson is Browning, who has written dramatic lyrics, Ring in the Book, dramatic personae, Pauline, and even Men and Women. As far as Browning is concerned, he also wrote some plays like Strafford, Pippa Passes, A Plot in the Escutcheon. All these questions and all these important terms and poems have been asked in the various examinations. As far as Browning is concerned, he is undoubtedly a dramatic poet, a poet who is known for his dramatic monologues, and the dramas of Browning, they actually lack action, they actually lack plot, and that is why his dramas could not succeed, could not get that level of success. And yes, the age was pessimistic, but in this age of pessimism, Browning was an optimist. Browning believed in God and in the immortality of human soul. And he believed that man should ceaselessly strive towards the perfection. And nothing is there which cannot be achieved. And there can be many questions, many discussions where we can even compare and contrast between Browning, Arnold, Tennyson, and so many things. But yes, Browning's style was full of obscurity. His lines, his rhythms could not be taken into consideration very easily. For a beginner, Browning could not be a very good poet to understand compared to the other lyrical poets. And for a quite long time, popularity of Robert Browning, flourished. But how? At the cost of Tennyson. But now, basically, Browning seems to be paying for it. How? Because the current critical opinion about Robert Browning is very much beautifully expressed in David Deschy's book, which is known as The Critical History of English Literature. I'm sure many students might be having this book, History of English Literature, The Critical History of English Literature by David Deschy. And the best poems of Robert Browning are actually written in the dramatic monologue form for which he is known. And as we have discussed, that the charge of obscurity, which is there in the poems of Robert Browning, is sometimes very difficult for the students, for those people who don't understand much, because the poems lack lyricism also. And his philosophy of love is actually unquestionable, because he was also a great poet of love. And love in the poems of Browning acts as a great magician. He is a magician. He is aware that sometimes love meets too late. But this does not hearten as it does with Matthew Arnold, because Matthew Arnold was a poet of despair. Ah, love, let us be true to one another. वाली poem आपको याद होगी, Dover Beach की. So how much pessimistic he is, but Browning is not pessimistic as other poets were. Fine. And yes, his wife, Miss Elizabeth Barrett Browning, बाद में उनका नाम हो गया Mrs. Robert Browning, also became a great poet afterwards. And Mrs. Browning is best known for her sonnets from the Portuguese. Her other works, apart from the sonnets from the Portuguese, are The Seraphim and The Cry of Children. The Seraphim and The Cry of Children. So, इनके ऊपर डिटेल्स में जाने की जरूरत नहीं है. Now we will come to Matthew Arnold. Matthew Arnold, as a great name of the Victorian age, he is known for some very important poems like The Strayed Reveller, The Forsaken Merman, Thereses, Dover Beach, The Scholar Gypsy, Empedocles on Etna, and many other poems, to name a few which are more important. And if we talk about Arnold's poetry is basically marked or known with conflict between classicism and a serious concern with the life around. And even he is known for his melancholy, for his pessimism, for his despair, and even for his stoicism. And he has written a lot. He's a great poet, and even today people do a lot of PhD work in the works of Matthew Arnold. And I still remember those beautiful lines from Matthew Arnold from the poem Dover Beach, which are most characteristics line of his, and that is, "Ah, love, let us be true to one another, for the work which seems to be before us like a land of dreams, and that land of dreams so various, so beautiful, so new, hath really neither joy, nor love, nor light, nor certitude, nor peace, nor health, nor fame. And we are here on this darkling plain, swept with a lot of confusions, alarms of struggle and fight, where ignorant armies are clashing by night." Such beautiful and great lines written by Matthew Arnold. And when you read Matthew Arnold with precision, you will find such full lines full of despair, pessimism, all through his poetry. And yes, Matthew Arnold, his poetry is known as a criticism of life. So this is a term, this is a line, this is a theory which everybody should even go for. Now, then there is a one question which comes to my mind, that क्या जो मैथ्यू आर्नल्ड है, क्या वो क्लासिकल पोएट है? Is he a classical poet? So there can be an answer that Matthew Arnold actually reacted against romanticism of the 19th century, which we have already read. But one can never hope to become a classicist only by reacting against a romantic tradition. केवल react करने से आप classicist नहीं बन जाते हैं, since the very nature on the reaction is in the essence romantic. And in this respect, students, Matthew Arnold resembles that of Mr. T.S. Eliot, who can best be described as an anti-romantic. So, अगर हम सच्चाई की बात करें, तो Matthew Arnold was also an anti-romantic, a romantic in spite of himself. And apart from these great writers of the Victorian age, which you must also have studied in my regular classes even too, that there was an author known as Arthur Hugh Clough. Arthur Hugh Clough was a notable minor poet, though he was not very popular, but some of his important works, एक वर्क है उसका जिसका नाम है द बॉथी ऑफ टॉबर नॉवलिच, बहुत बड़ा सा नाम है. इट इज नॉट इवन इंपॉर्टेंट, ये पूछा भी नहीं जाता, बट इन केस कभी पूछ लें तो आपको ध्यान रह सकता है. फाइन. नाउ द थिंग इज दैट आर्थर ह्यू क्लाउ, who was he? He was actually an Oxford scholar, and he was a personal friend of Matthew Arnold. And there was one Mr. Lucas. He described him as a Hamlet with a he was deeply very much interested in the main problems of his age and his doubts and disputes. But there is a name known as Edward Fitzgerald. Who is Edward Fitzgerald? बहुत सारे questions इस पे आते हैं. He is best known for his English version of the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam. Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam, इसको लिख लीजिएगा. And yes, he is also known for his pessimism and criticism of life, as Tennyson has written in Memoriam. Apart from that, this Rubaiyat is full of memorable lines also. If you read, because we don't need to go in the detail of this Rubaiyat Khayyam, but yes, whenever if you get some time, you can read some lines and enjoy the lines of this great work. Now, there is a very important movement which is known as, very many questions come, pre-Raphaelite movement. This pre-Raphaelite movement was given way or given rise by none other but Dante Gabriel Rossetti in the year 1848. And J.E. Millais, इसका नाम नोट कर लीजिए, J.E. Millais, he founded the Pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood. And the main aim of the Pre-Raphaelite movement was to actually restore the beauties of the Pre-Raphaelite painting to the English art. लेटर ऑन क्या हुआ कि ये मूवमेंट जो है शिफ्ट कर दिया गया टू लिटरेचर, बाद में ये पेंटिंग से लिटरेचर पे शिफ्ट हो गया, एंड मोस्ट ऑफ द पीपल हु आर एसोसिएटेड विद दिस मूवमेंट ऑफ रोसिटी, देयर वर 4-5 पीपल, जिसमें कि रोसिटी हिमसेल्फ वाज अ ग्रेट मैन ऑफ लेटर्स, एंड दिस पोइट्री, द पोइट्री ऑफ द प्री-राफेलाइट स्कूल is actually marked, has a lot of characteristics which are very important for you to know, and that is this poetry is known for a spirit of revolt. It is known for the love of the Middle Ages. They are known for its sensuality. They are known for its pictorial quality and a lot of voluptuousness and sensuality. And these pre-Raphaelites basically believed in art's sake, as they have demarcated all these things with their poetry. And this term, this pre-Raphaelite poets, is a term which includes how many poets? First is Dante Gabriel Rossetti, A.C. Swinburne, William Morris, and I have told you this name, J.E. Millais. Fine. So there have been many works which these people have written, but the best known by Dante Gabriel Rossetti is a very big name, that is The Blessed Damozel. And this Blessed Damozel is a poem which is sensuous, not only sensuous but mystic, and which deals with the mystic love between a lover, and this lover is on earth and the blessed damozel in heaven. So there is a love between a lover on earth and the blessed damozel in heaven, and the main purpose of this poem is basically to praise the human love of man and woman. इसका ये purpose है इस poem को लिखने का. And as we have already discussed the characteristics of the pre-Raphaelite movement in general, in totality, but yes, if we talk about the characteristics of the Rossetti's poems, then again there are most same things, that is sensuousness, love for the Middle Ages, mysticism, and even pictorial quality. And these things you can easily find out in his poetry. Now, there is a name which often on comes in your examination, and that is Robert Bachan. Robert Bachan. So you have to know that this person, Robert Bachan, attacked on Rossetti. So this Robert Bachan, who attacked the poetry of Rossetti and said that he was a fleshy poet. And why he attacked his poetry and said that he was a fleshy poet? Because he only talks about sensuousness, he only talks about voluptuousness, and he only loves the beauty of the female body. So Bachan published an article which is known as the fleshy school of poetry. And that is why these people are known as fleshy poets. And this article was published anonymously without any name. And in it, Rossetti was accused of moral corruption. Fine. I remember there is a sonnet sequence by Rossetti known as The House of Life. So this sonnet sequence, A House of Life, is considered to be one of the best sonnet sequence in English literature, and many of these sonnets are inspired by the poet's love for his wife, and some of them are the expression of the war within his bosom between his intention to remain faithful to his memory and the desire for another woman. See, again that thing came, that he has a lot of strife and struggle, and he tries to remain faithful to his wife, but somewhere or the other he has desire for another woman too, which he is trying to express in his sonnets. Now, there is a name known as A.C. Swinburne. So this A.C. Swinburne was also a great poetical name, who has written Atlanta in Caledon, and Songs Before Sunrise, and Songs of the Springtides, and many other poems too. So this person, A.C. Swinburne, is an excellent poet who had a vision and a remarkable eye. And how? Because his poetry actually reveals a variety of themes, a variety of qualities, and he has also the fondness of the classicism of the Middle Ages, and he is actually a great experimentator in the verse form. बहुत सारे experiments करता रहता था, and apart from all these things, he is also one of the most musical of all the other English poets. Fine. So these are the things which has to be taken into consideration once you go through the entire British history with a lot of precision and a crash system. Now there is a name known as William Morris. विलियम मॉरिस के कुछ वर्क्स थे, उनको आप नोट कर सकते हैं. एक का नाम था द अर्थली पैराडाइज एंड द लाइफ एंड डेथ ऑफ जैसन. सो there may be other works also, but the two came in my mind, so I am telling you. And Morris is also had a very strong influence, which people, or you can say the readers, admired his poetry. His poetry is admired because of his love of beauty, the love of the landscapes, the love of music, and he has derived all his love of the Middle Ages from his pre-Raphaelite brother, and he got a lot of skill and dexterity in writing the poems in the narrative form by none other but Godfrey Chaucer, the father of English poetry. Now we come to Christina Rossetti. Christina Rossetti. Who was Christina Rossetti? बहुत पहले बहुत सारे क्वेश्चंस क्रिस्टीना रॉसेटी पे पूछे जाते थे और जनरली स्टूडेंट्स इसको गलत कर देते थे. रॉसेटी समझते थे कि वो डीजी रॉसेटी की वाइफ हैं. नो, she is actually the younger sister of D.G. Rossetti, and her poetry is less impressive than that compared to her brother D.G. Rossetti as far as the description in the passages is concerned. But yes, she had a pure lyrical taste, and her poetry has also been known for sustained passion in his poetry. And as far as religious themes are concerned, she is a writer with a transparent simplicity, and she has a great variety of metrical and melodic effects, which is very important to enjoy Christina Rossetti as a poet. Fine. Now, in this Victorian era, there are many other names. One name which is not to be missed, and that is Thomas Hardy. Who is Thomas Hardy, students? He is known as a novelist. But yes, he belongs to a Victorian age. But as a poet, he belongs to the 20th century. And his poetry as a poet is marked with a note of cynicism. And his poetry is also marked with a deep-rooted sense of frustration, with pessimism, and even fatalism. So these are the things which you will find in the poetry of Thomas Hardy. Apart from this, students, Thomas हार्डी के तो है ही है बड़ा नाम. एक नाम और मैं मिस कर रहा था जो मुझे अभी तुरंत याद आ गया, एंड दैट इज, जो कि थॉमस हार्डी से पहले आता है, लेकिन कोई बात नहीं, ये नाम है जॉर्ज मेरेडिथ. मेरेडिथ पे भी क्वेश्चंस आते हैं. ही इज ऑल्सो वन ऑफ द वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट नॉवलिस्ट ऑफ द विक्टोरियन एरा, बट ही इज ऑल्सो हिज पोइट्री डील्स विद ग्रेट इंटेलेक्चुअलिटी. एंड सपोज करिए कोई पूछे तो आप कह सकते हैं कि यस, जॉर्ज मेरेडिथ वाज अ पोएट हु अडॉप्टेड द डार्विनियन थ्योरी ऑफ एवोल्यूशन एंड ही यूज्ड इट इन दैट पोएट्री. इसका जो एक इंपॉर्टेंट पोएम है, वेरी नोन पोएम है, जिसका नाम है मॉडर्न लव, और इस मॉडर्न लव में he shadows forth the inner tragedy of his own first marriage. And apart from all these things, Meredith is a master of meter. He is a master of rhythm. And his poetry is an offspring of the head rather than the heart. Means, जब head से काम होता है, this means कि the poetry has to be more intellectual rather than more emotional. एक नाम और है, minor poet है, but yes, important because sometimes very minor things are asked in the exam, and that is Coventry Patmore. Coventry Patmore was admired in the Victorian age itself, and a very prominent thing to be taken into account for his poetry is that he often combines the spiritual love with the physical love. He blends the physical love with the spiritual love, and some of his important poems are, उसको आप लिख सकते हैं, The Angel and the Victories of Love. And Coventry Patmore, he though he a Victorian poet, but he remains a classic. And if he can, we can consider him as a minor classic of the mind of the Victorian age. So students, this entirety I have completed, where every minute things are taken into consideration, and this covers the entire Victorian age. And I am sure you will revise this lecture and note down whatever important things I have taken into account. In my next lecture, we will start with the Victorian novel. So be prepared for it.